Good evening, and thank you for giving me a minute here. I'm Dorothy Moon, and I'm the new chairman of the Republican State Committee. I owe a big thank you to most of you in this room because you've been very supportive of not only my statewide campaign, but also in my run for chairwoman. I've got a lot to do, and I only have 5 minutes to talk, and so I'm going to go pretty fast. I have a video that I'd like you to see. We are rebranding the Idaho Republican Party. For a long time, the Idaho Republican Party, I don't think, has been very responsive to a lot of you or a lot of the other folks around the state. One thing I promise as the new chair is not only will I make sure that we get our Republican candidates in, but I'm going to make sure that your voices are heard. And for the longest time, as a legislator for the past 6 years, I've actually seen how your voices have been ignored. I will not work for the ivory tower. I will work for you, all of you, and I mean that. But I'm going to need your help. And I've had a lot of help. Just the other day when we had the issue with drag queens in Boise, we had kids who were going to be sexualized on stage. That's something that's totally unacceptable. It is not Idaho to let kids get up and ask for tips. And you would not believe how many Idahoans turned out and made phone calls. I found out later hundreds, a lot of women, mainly women in these Republican groups, called all of the sponsors that we put out on a list on the Idaho GOP website and encouraged all of you to call and say, what are you doing? This is not right. And on 9/11, one of the most sacred days in this nation, to ask for kids to get up on a stage in broad daylight in the middle of the day in front of our gorgeous Capitol and let this happen was totally wrong. Totally wrong. So we're going to get back to the values that we as Republicans regard. We're going to get back to following the Idaho platform, but especially we're going to get back to honoring and adhering to our Idaho Constitution. We have not been doing that for quite a while. I mean, for quite a while. The extraordinary session we just had, there were 3 violations to the Constitution. 3 of them. We had a bill that came forward as an omnibus bill, and it put together 2 issues, taxation and education. Our Constitution, no can do. And they did it. Not only was the bill prepared by the executive branch, it was given to the legislative branch and said you cannot amend it. How many of you have had government class in school before you graduated? I don't know, but I think we have 3 separate branches of government. That's what I was taught. Things have gone amok, and we're going to reel it back in, and we're going to start acting like Republicans. We're going to honor law. We're going to have due process, and we are going to adhere to this platform. So I want to show you a video that we've worked very hard on. I've had some collaborators here in this room. Brent Reagan was a big part of helping me get this, but a local young man, Matthew Young, put this together. And I will tell you what, he did a phenomenal job. We will have more videos showing our direction with this Republican Party. And I'd appreciate it if you'd show it right now. It's only 2 minutes. Thank you. On July 3rd, 1890, Idaho officially gained statehood, making us the 43rd state in the Union. That makes us just over 130 years old. And through the years, generations of Idahoans have forged our wonderful home out of the deep canyons and rolling hills of the south and through the winding Rocky Mountains of the north, making Idaho one of the most beautiful and unique states in the U.S. They call Idaho the Gem State, not just due to our rich history of mining, but for our generations of ranchers who defined the West, or the farmers who made our potatoes famous, or our loggers who helped to build this great nation. Generations of Americans travel to our beautiful state every year, following in the footsteps of Lewis and Clark, who braved the treacherous Salmon River and crossed the Bitterroot Mountains in search of new American soil. And while many Americans have come to call Idaho their home, we Idahoans aren't defined by the land beneath our feet, but by the Spirit that lives in our hearts. We are defined by our undying belief in freedom, liberty, and especially for our love of God. Idahoans are pioneers and explorers. We're innovators and builders. We have grit. We're families, waitresses, farmers, teachers, truckers, and we're proud of our home. Because Idaho is more than the mountains and the rivers and the land.
I am Idaho.
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 And here at the Republican Party, I will make sure Idaho remains our Idaho. Thank you. That's my promise to you. We're going to fight to keep Idaho our Idaho. And we're going to also make sure that we recognize the hardworking men and women, and they expect us to represent them, and we will. If you notice, there are a few faces that you might have recognized in that video. And as I said, the young man who put it together is from up north Idaho. And hopefully we're going to have a second one here pretty soon. But that is definitely what I want to do, is make sure that we represent the people. And the grassroots are so important, and we need to make sure you're activated, not only just on issues about drag queens having kids out on stage, but other issues as well. And that issue isn't over yet. On the Idaho State GOP website, go and look at some of those sponsors and call them up and say, this is not what we want in our state. We do not want woke corporatists coming in here and trying to change the direction and make us a Democrat state. And you know, when Raul Labrador was talking, it is very important that we all get out. The most important thing is that we get our Republicans to win, but we will only know that we are going to fight off the Democrats if we have wider margins. Right now, I understand that a lot of the legislative races that we have, they already have $50,000 for a lot of the Democrat opponents to our good Republicans. So we need to make sure that we get out the vote. If you can get on a phone and make phone calls, if you can go to door for the candidates you like, I am telling you, you have got to get involved. It can't be 3 people in the Idaho Republican office really beating the drum. We need all of you to beat the drum. And when we have Republicans like Fred Martin, a senator who the Republican Party has supported and many have donated to, that is now going to support a candidate, a Democrat, over Cody Galloway, who's going to make a fine senator. So we have problems. I will call them out. Jim Jones, Fred Martin, all these Republicans who are changing their stripes, they will be called out. In fact, I think that press release is coming out Monday. I've been kind of busy.